So we're out here at this beautiful lakeside park. It's very beautiful. And they had installed this wonderful fountain for doggies, adults, and children. That costs money. Okay? Come here. Come have a drink. Come on. Come have a drink. Right? And I know even down the way, come here. I know that even down the way, they have a misting station for runners, right? And all of that cost money. Where did the money come from? Probably from both private and, partially funded by, the taxes that people pay. Right? Just like I hear a lot of people talking about, buying campground memberships, right? And, that membership to that campground, yeah, it allows you to go into, these parks for free. But that membership, also, will probably give you a campground that's manicured, has a design, offers, clearing out of some of the land and probably, picnic benches, parking sites, maybe even camping sites, toilets sometimes, and some, they even have showers at these camping facilities. So, I'm saying this is when you opt out, and still want, the same privileges of those who have not opted out, that's inequitable. And nobody's saying that, well, just because you were poor, no, you still have access even if you're poor. They have a lot of sites out here for poor people. Well, they have a few sites out here for poor people. And it's pretty important to be able to get outside, just to stop your body from atrophying, which is one of the reasons why I came out. I'm like, okay, I'm going to need to get back outside, even though I do exercise. There's something that happens when you get out and actually walk around and interact with with different surroundings. Like right now, right here, oh my gosh, the trees here are so powerful. They are right here. The trees right here are so powerful. And it feels really good. You know, this trail alongside of the walking and running path, you know, is, you know, for people who are just out here trying to just, you know, feel the energy. I just noticed this area here. A civilization flourishes when old men plant trees underneath whose shade they shall never sit. Greek Proverbs. Wow. And this one here says, the clearest way into the universe is through a forest wilderness. Right? And this was donated by the people of Dallas for the love of the lake. Harry Bass Jr. Foundation, Dallas Park and Recreation. And then honorable mentions here. And that was in 2006. Okay? So they have the names all on this. Honorable mentionables here. Okay? And I'm sure this here is because they left room for even more mentionables. Honorable mentionables. They have some over here on this side. So yeah, you know, these are people that did not opt out of the system and wanted civilization to flourish. So this is why some people, they contribute more you know, have a higher relevance. Now, like in my situation, I did not want to opt out. You know, and I'm still fighting not to opt out. You know, even with poor health. Right? especially, you know, if I think about, my grandkids and, and the possibility that they will bring in uh, more people, more proteges, okay? Um, Now, disconnection from family, it can make you feel like, nothing is really worth it. Okay, I'm gonna come over here and see if this misting machine and fountain machine is actually working. No, it's not working. But this is a misting machine. So maybe they have certain times that, you know, they'll turn on the water. Like events or something. Um, So, in a different world, and we have kids that are out here at the park, riding their bike, and they're all a group. They look like they range from, 10 to 7 and maybe 8. These kids right here. Right? They don't have adult supervision. And these kids had stopped at this bridge where they have through traffic because they wanted to look at the water below. Now, granted, they may be far ahead of, the parent. This might be the parent coming up. Dragging behind. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, kids will run off ahead, and, so far ahead. Look like 2 parents. Yeah, I think those are the 2 parents. They're busy on their phones, and the kids have went far ahead, and then they stopped, and now they're waiting. But they were probably about 200 feet, away from the parents. And it made it look like those kids were by themselves because the parents couldn't be seen. They were around the curve, the bend. Yeah, that's who they were waiting for. Ooh, that's a relief. And they also have an even smaller child who looks to be about 4 years old and a 5-year-old. Yeah. Whew. That's a relief. Because I was like, yeah, in a beautiful world, we could send our kids out and tell them to go play in the park and come back in a little while, but you can't do that today. Even if it wasn't predators, they have people that will come to the park, grown-ups, mainly men, will come to the park and, and drink, and no telling what they'll do. No telling what the hell they will do. What I don't like about what these ladies did is instead of putting them on the trail that's right beside the road, they're walking in the road. That's the one thing I don't like. They could have walked along the trail. Here's another woman and her child walking on the road. I don't know why they can't walk on the trail. Take your ass on the fucking trail. And because there's no sidewalk, I had to go into the other lane. And I guess she's like, well, we don't get out here that often. At least I'm out here. Okay. Also, I was looking for some spots where you can fish for free. There still are spots that you can fish for free. I was surprised. I was like, what? You can fish for free? It surprised me because I was, I hadn't really, not really a fisher, but I'm thinking I might want to fish in the future. You know, as I start, trying to do more and more things with my free time. Doing things that I can do that doesn't cost any money. And fishing seems like that would be kind of nice, especially if I catch 1 or 2 fish and I can eat it. I used to have some fishing poles in my garage, and I went to go look to see if I could find them, and I couldn't find any fishing poles except for a child's fishing pole. Like it was only like about 3 feet, little plastic fishing pole. And then I went online to see how much, a fishing pole would cost. Without the reel, you can get a fishing pole for like $10. With the reel, you're looking at about $29 to $39 for a fishing pole with a reel. If you go on Amazon has 2 fishing poles, hooks, and fishing nets and stuff, and a bag to put it in, to carry it in for like $39. And I was like, I want that, right? I was like, I want that. Because somebody had taken the whole time to assemble that up, put it in a nice little old package, and it can be delivered directly to your door. Now, I had to really ask myself, Cherie, you say you want to go fishing. Are you going to go fishing though? Right? Because we have our wants and we have what we're actually going to do. And I said, well, I know I will at least do it once. So once is really not enough, for me at this point in time to invest in. Maybe in the future, that'll be a possibility, but not now. Not at this moment. And I'm also getting more worried about my doggy. She's not eating food the way she used to. She has cut way back on her food. I've been having to tempt her with people food again. When it comes to people food, she'll eat that up. She loved those rib bones, chicken bones, and ham meat. She loved it. She loved it. Today, I'm probably gonna fix some shrimp. The shrimp that I got, they have the tail on and the shell on. So she'll be getting those. And she loves those. She loves it. Oops. Fuck. So that time I almost had an accident. Because I had my blinker on and I was changing lanes, car kind of sped up, and they were right in my blind sight, my blind spot. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to have with the shrimp, because if I don't eat anything with the shrimp, oh my God, well, I'll probably have some baby carrots. I'm telling you, if I don't eat something with my protein, I will eat a lot of protein. And even eating a lot of protein can be bad because it doesn't have fiber. Protein doesn't have fiber. And oh yeah, shout out to Bunny Plays. Bunny Plays went to the Mustard Museum, and she informed us that they use turmeric in the mustard. And I was like, oh, okay. So I could handle turmeric in the mustard. And I did put mustard in the barbecue sauce that I used on top of my ribs. You know, and I had even thought about using the barbecue sauce and the mustard on top of my shrimp. Yeah, and you know, mustard hardly has any calories, but it's so flavorful. And if it has turmeric, that's so anti-inflammatory. So I had also came across a lady that was promoting a book called The Book, and then below it said methods. So this book basically was designed to give people an education about everything in small quantities, you know, in a way that they can understand it, see it, you know, and that way, you know, they can apply that knowledge. Like I said, you know, you can see something but not see its usefulness, right? Which was another lady who had went to a museum, and she was like, you know, normally when I go to museums, you know, they seem boring to me, you know, and that's an example of that, where you can see something, had the concept, you know, but it's not something that you incorporate in a practical fashion. So, yeah. I mowed the lawn yesterday. I only really had to mow the front and the side. The backyard, it hadn't really grown a lot of grass. You know, I made a special effort to water my trees a lot. You know, gave my trees, you know, at least, 55 gallons of water, if not more than the one in the front, because I watered that one with the actual hose, and I let the hose sit there for about a good 10 minutes or so, 5 minutes minimum. And honestly, when I did that, it felt like my property was instantly cooler. Yeah. Because I have a big pecan tree in the front and a big pecan tree in the back. And it looks like this year I'm going to have pecans. Now, what I wish I could do is find a way, to put a net around the whole tree. That way I could harvest those pecans. But the tree is huge. It would almost have to be professionally done. And if I do that, thank God, the squirrels and rodents and shit, they would be mad. Because, they've been eating on the pecans every year. Sometimes they eat them up so much, I don't get no pecans. Because they work day and night getting those pecans. Even if they have to bury them, which most of the time they do. They bury the pecans all over the place to store them for later. But I suppose what I was thinking is I would like to take my rubber canoe and a fishing pole and then go out on the water at least one time this summer, or at least before the weather gets bad. I don't know if I want to get out here in this 93 degree weather, and I don't have no sun shield. I did find my heat reflected hat when I was going through some of my stuff, and that was nice. I just wish my head wasn't so big, because if my head wasn't so big, then I could actually, take use of the ventilation that it offers. And it's true, you can gain weight on your head. Not everybody gains weight on their head or their feet or their hands, but you can. Some people do. Right? No telling where you're going to gain your weight. Like some people, you'll see that, they'll gain weight all along, their neck. And when I see that, I'm like, their lymph nodes must be blocked, causing them, to gain weight there. And even sometimes I think about that when I see people with big thighs, because we got lymph nodes, in our groin area. And I'm like, they might have, blocked lymph nodes in their groin area. I did look at the lymphatic system that runs through our body, and I thought, wow,